Have you ever encountered something paranormal? Like the video and subscribe right now, and this doggo will protect your room tonight. A few years ago one night at around 3 AM my wife and I were sleeping, and I feel myself slowly waking up from a really deep sleep. My eyes started lifting up, and as soon as they focused on the lamp on my dresser it slid off and shattered on the floor. My wife and I quickly sat up and looked at each other horrified at the startling noise. We agreed we would clean it in the morning and went back to sleep. The next morning, when we woke up the lamp was at the foot of the bed, about 5 feet from where it fell, completely intact and not broken at all. We are still trying to make sense of it. From 3 until 13 I lived in a nice home out near Yosemite National Park. Nothing super spectacular about it. 4 bedrooms, a den, dining room, the norm. Just down a little dirt road, and, if you've ever been around those parts you'll know, miles away from civilization. My whole childhood I was visited by this girl in white. She never spoke. I would just wake up at night and see or feel her there. I asked my dad and his response every time was the men in our family can see ghosts. My rationale of this, I'm a skeptic. I remain that to this day, but the story I'm telling made me question, was that we had some sort of mild schizophrenia running through our family. It didn't bother me. She didn't look like other people. There was something off about her. After my father died my mother decided to sell the house and went through a realtor. We never once had contact with the buyers, only knew them by name. The buyers had a son who went to the same school as our old neighbors, dear friends of the family, and the son apparently came to school without sleep repeatedly, complaining that there was a girl who watched him at night, and that he needed to get out. Shivers up my spine every time I remember this. Whoa, that is pretty spooky, but it was probably nothing. You should go visit your old house sometime though. I hear late October is beautiful there. Bring your friends, make a party out of it, play some fun party games. There are some great old ones in the basement. The only one I have is when I was in 4th grade. When I was little, I would always sleep with my door open. I went through a phase where I would wake up between 3 o'clock/4 AM every night, and every single night I would hear footsteps walking up my stairs, around my living room, through my dining room, across my kitchen, and down my hallway. They would always stop right before my doorway, then turn around and go back into the basement. But one night they didn't stop. What I saw was a shadow of a little girl/boy, couldn't tell, walk right in front of my doorway, look at me for a few seconds, then it walked away, back down the stairs. I slept with the door closed the next night. When I was a child we lived on a house that we could hear footsteps on the stairway every single night. At the same home, my mother saw my sister, during the day, having a long conversation with someone invisible. At some point my sister fell in the floor and said stop pushing me. My sister was about 2.5 years old. My mother was so terrified that we had to move days later. Not sure if this is considered paranormal, but when I get fevers as a child, I would always, in my fugue and pain-infused state, hear a man counting in a very deep voice. He would count from 1 and up. As the numbers get larger, the voice gets louder and more intense. It started to get less frequent as I grew older and now I do not experience it anymore. I've brushed it aside as a recurring nightmare until only recently I've learned that my sister would experience the exact same thing when she was younger as well. It's not the scariest thing, but it does send shivers down my spine trying to comprehend this. Imagine if one day the voice started counting down from 10. Pants would be shat. A friend of mine was taking a picture of herself and her daughter kissing, and in the background you can clearly see a figure that was not there. She had ghost experts come in and check around the house and found nothing. After some research they found one of the previous owners was a mortician or ran a funeral home or something. I have known this girl for years, and it would completely shock me if this was fabricated as I saw how upset she was and how much money she dished out for experts. They no longer live there. Woke up one night to a loud screeching noise, similar to the screech the Nazgul make in LOTR. The entire room was flashing rapidly in bright colors. My computer turned on for a split second, enough to get the fans rattling, and my computer screen had static on it. The entire ordeal was over in less than a second. I still don't know if it really happened or if my brain was just playing me tricks. People at Skrillex concerts pay for that shit. so I've never posted this because I always get to these threads way too late. So I get home from my job as a server at midnight. One of my roommates was in the Navy and was deployed at the time, and the other one was at his girlfriend's house. I cook myself dinner, and as I'm cooking my dog starts growling and barking towards the middle of the room at nothing. This is especially weird because she never ever barks. She was a rescue, and I bought her as a sense of security when I'm home alone. I'm a female, and I could never get her to bark at anyone. I dismiss her barking as odd, but I finish cooking and eat. I start to clean and turn the sink on because it takes forever to get hot, but right when I turned around the sink turned off on its own. Again, I think it's odd, but I don't really think it's worth freaking out over. The hair on the back of my dog is standing up straight, but no one is home, and it's midnight, so I figure I'd just tough it out, even though I was beginning to get a little spooked. After cleaning, I go in the bathroom and sit on the sink to pluck my eyebrows. My bathroom was small, with the sink immediately to your right as you enter, with the toilet next to it, bathtub at the end, and toilet paper dispenser directly across the toilet. It was a really narrow room, so you could reach the TP while sitting on the toilet. So the way I was sitting, the toilet paper dispenser was behind me. After 2 to 3 minutes I hear a weird noise behind me, so I turn around, and I shit you not, the whole roll of toilet paper was unraveling fast as hell, like someone was pulling it. I noped the frick out of that bathroom. The door was closed, and it had no windows, so it couldn't have been a breeze. I put a leash on my dog, and ran out of that apartment faster than Usain Bolt. By the time this happened it was already around 2 AM. None of my friends were awake, so I spent the night sitting outside of the door to my apartment. When I went back in the next morning, the whole roll of toilet paper was on the ground, and the roll was probably 3/4 full. I'm talking about a good 5 to 10 meters of toilet paper. After that day I never had an odd experience quite like that one ever again, but one of my roommates did mention that a few times he'd come home and find every door and cabinet in the place open, when he'd specifically remembered closing them and leaving them that way when he left. This was when I was on vacation out of state, and our other roommate was still deployed. We moved into a house and everything was really quiet the first 6 months or so. The neighbors told us that the people who lived there before had moved after their teenage son died in a motorcycle accident. Then after that first 6 months my dad died, not in the house. After that, stuff started to happen. I would have friends sleep over, and one night my friend woke me up because she said there was a young guy standing in my bathroom. So I went and checked and nothing was there. Over the next few years just about any friends that stayed overnight had said they saw the tall blonde young guy walking around the house. We did have a few other things happen, like a wine glass was on the counter and it broke. No one was touching it, it just shattered on the counter. Another time during the winter we had the heater on and my room was always the warmest in the house, and it was ice cold as you walked across my bedroom to the bathroom that was connected. The creepiest thing was when my boyfriend was sleeping on the couch in the middle of the night, and he said he woke up to a young guy pushing him off onto the floor. He said the guy didn't say anything, but my boyfriend at the time knew that he had to leave and he did. He wouldn't stay at my place after that. Edit. I have gotten a lot of crap about the wine glass, so I will explain in better detail. My mom had a huge collection of glassware. She had so many there wasn't anywhere to put it anymore. So we just set them on the counter. The wine glass had been sitting there for a long time. No one had touched it. It hadn't just come out of the dishwasher or anything like that. Basically she bought it, put it on the counter, and never touched it again. When it broke no one was near it, only me and my mom were there, and we were both at least 10 feet away. Could it have been something like a crack in the glass? Maybe, but at the time it startled us, and we thought it was weird. I was just sharing one of the many things that happened. Okay, I've got a good one. I'm not usually one that believes in the paranormal, but this made me question everything. My girlfriend had always told me her house was haunted. I'd always hear creaks and stuff upstairs and the occasional footstep, but I always played it off as normal house noises until one night in August of this year. We were downstairs watching TV like usual, about to go to bed, when we both got a very weird feeling almost simultaneously. She gave me a weird look and I didn't think anything of it, so we went to bed. After a few minutes of her on Twitter and me on Reddit, we put our phones down and roll over to go to sleep. Then we both heard the words goodnight in a child's voice. Doesn't seem too strange, right? Well, considering there weren't children in the house, we both looked at each other like, why would you say goodnight like that? Then we realized neither of us had said it, and we left her room fairly quickly. We went downstairs to lay on the couch and watch a little TV, and come to our senses and figure out where those words could have come from. Then we both got that someone's watching you feeling. Not like, oh, that dude over there has been staring at me, but as something will not take their eyes off me, no matter what I do feeling. So we decided it best to leave the house. We went to walk out the front door, but right as we were about to open it, we heard the child's voice again. This time it came from the balcony right above us in the entryway. Clear as day, a child said mommy and daddy. We looked at each other. I may or may not have screamed, and we ran to my car and decided to drive to the one place that was open in our shitty small Oregon town, Walmart. The problem was, as soon as we got in the car, we knew something had come with us, and it was pissed at us for leaving. The second we got into my Honda, there was nothing but the feeling of hate instilled into both of us for no reason whatsoever. Whatever it was filled that car with hate. It's now about 4 AM and I have to be at work in 5 hours. So we decide to go back to her house and try to get some sleep and see what happens. We walk into the front door and nothing but quiet. We walk up the stairs, turn right, and suddenly it sounds like a dog is growling from her upstairs bathroom. It takes me a second though, because I grew up with dogs and all I could think was that it was just mine and they're being weird. 5 seconds later I realize I'm at her house, and no dog has ever set paw in there. Something was freaking growling at me, and I had no idea what. At this point I'm freaking pissed at whatever is happening because I'm tired and need to sleep for work. So I come up with this brilliant plan of talking to shit to whatever causing all these problems. The only thing that sticks out at this point is me yelling, if you're so pissed, so something about. Right after that I feel something pull my shirt. I turn around thinking my girlfriend is playing a very unfunny joke on me, but no. She was still downstairs. Something pulled my shirt. After that I decided it was time to leave for the night. At 6 AM, we get in my car and drive to my mom's house. That car ride was much less hate-filled and all the bad feelings were gone for a while. I went to work while my girlfriend slept at my mom's place, and when I got off we went back to her house to check things. Everything seemed fine except for the one picture of us she had hanging on her wall was knocked to the ground like something out of a freaking horror movie. But she was too exhausted to care about my safety at that point, and I was so tired I was willing to let whatever was there kill, just so I could get some rest. 2 weeks later we moved out, and haven't had any problems since. I never believed in the paranormal at all until this happened. I still question it. My brain thinks there has to be a logical explanation to all of it, and I'm sure there is, but I know she believes, and a piece of me believes, that there's something else in that house.